Alright, so this is just a continuation of the last video that I got cut off for 5.1a, where I was on question 2 for reducing to the lowest terms and then giving the restrictions. So another example we could have would be like x squared plus 4x over x squared plus 8x plus 16. Okay, so remember, you're not just looking at the denominator, you have to reduce these, so you have to factor out the top and the bottom, the numerator and the denominator. So, like in this case, don't try and start canceling out like x squared with x squared and so on. There's this plus sign and getting in the way, so they have to look like this for stuff to be able to cancel. Like this factor and this factor could cancel because of they're exactly the same. Here, you have these pluses in the middle of this, so x squared plus 4x is not the same thing as x squared plus 8x and so on, so it doesn't cancel out, just parts of it. So at the top, x squared and 4x have x in common, so remember you have to divide that out by moving it out into the front to give us x times x plus 4. And then over here, this is a trinomial factoring where you have to find factors of 16 that add to 8. So that's the other kind that we have been working on our last test. So in this case, we'd have to say that 4 times 4 is 16, 4 plus 4 is 8, so we're going to factor this out as x plus 4 times x plus 4. So even though there's 3 of them, remember only pairs can cancel out if it's at the top and the bottom, so we have at least one here and one here, so that's what's going to cancel. So our reduced form is just going to be left with x at the top and x plus 4 at the bottom. So that would be the reduced form. So this is reduced. Now remember, they still want us to find our restrictions, so you go back to the denominator before you started canceling stuff out to find our restrictions. So x plus 4 times x plus 4 was our denominator before stuff canceled out. Remember, you set that equal to 0, so we can see where x is going to make the denominator 0. In this case, both of these are the same, so technically, if we do both of them equal to 0, it's going to end up being the same thing, so we'll only have one restriction. It won't be two different answers, because here, if we subtract 4 from both sides, x would be negative 4, and same thing here, x would also be negative 4. So our only restriction in this case is that x cannot equal negative 4. So that would be the restriction that you would put in. Okay. Another thing that may come up is some negating that has to happen, where if we have 3y minus 6 over 2 minus y. Okay. Well, in these cases, like if we factor out the top, there's a common factor here of 3. So let's do that first. That's going to end up being 3 times y minus 2. Both of these divided by 3, that comes out in the front. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Well, that's not exactly the same as 2 minus y. So when we have that 2 minus y still at the bottom, it's not going to cancel out with this, and we really want stuff to start canceling out. So see that they're almost the same. Well, we can change this y to a positive, like what we have up here, by taking out the negative 1 that they would have in common. Okay, dividing out a negative 1. So for cases where it's backwards like this, you can take out the negative 1, which is going to turn this into 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. Negative y divided by negative 1 is positive y. So it's going to become positive y minus 2, which will now match what we have up here to be able to cancel that part out. Then you're just left with 3 over negative 1, which divides into negative 3. So that would be our reduced form here. Okay. Then, technically, you can go back to your original one and find the restrictions by doing 2 minus y equals 0, where if we subtract 2, negative y would equal negative 2, and divide by negative 1, y cannot equal a positive 2. So that would be our restriction. Okay, in the denominator. Remember, you can't use what's taken out after you cancel stuff out. You have to use it before that. Okay. So that pretty much sums up what we have for 5.1a. See if there's anything extra. Nope, so that's pretty much the gist for that one.